welcome to Unity South Central Region's Business Mastermind for June of 2025. I'm Ariana Platt, and it is my pleasure to spend a little time with you. Today, we're going to talk about financial stewardship, and I know I'm going to say things you already know. I also know we all need to be reminded of those things periodically. But I'm going to start off with a little story that is a true story from the church that I serve. So there's a wonderful guy here. His name is Frank, and he really wanted to give into the community. And we were having a bake sale for our youth community, and he decided that he was going to bake. And Frank is not a baker. But Frank got a recipe from a friend for banana bread and decided he was going to make it, which he did. And when he made it and he brought it in, he handed it to the ladies behind the counter. And one of the ladies said, "And this has got to be really good. It's really heavy." They put it on the counter, and 10 minutes later it sold, and nobody thought anything because we sold out. The bake sale sold out. We made good money. It was fun. Frank came to church the next Sunday and he pulled me aside and he said, "I really can't believe that the banana bread sold so quick." And I said, "Why? Your heart was in it, Frank. It's good. Thank you so much for making it." And he said, "Yeah, but Mary pulled me over to the side and said, 'Hey, I bought your banana bread.'" And Frank said, "How was it?" And she said, "It makes a great doorstop." But wow, abundance. I didn't even know I needed a doorstop. So it's one of my very, very favorite stories around here because we don't really know what we need. We don't really know what we need. We really don't know who's going to say what, how people are going to take things, how it's all going to work out. But we do know that abundance is all around us and that sometimes we have to look at things through a different lens. And right now, there's stuff happening in our country that's likely to cause us to feel a little pinch at church, feel a little pinch in our communities as people kind of try and navigate of a stock market influx, tariffs and their impact, and all of those things, because they're real for us. No matter how you feel about them, you can think they're the greatest thing in the world, and they're still impacting what we do. So I want to go back and spend a little time just refreshing ourselves on some ideas and bringing our hearts back into the okayness of what we're doing, the wellness of our communities, the goodness of our hearts, and how that all makes a difference. So I'm going to share my screen here and jump into some slides, and we'll do this together. There we go. Welcoming abundance and wisdom in the world. That's really what we're about, isn't it? The understanding that this is a resource wealthy world that we live in, even though sometimes it doesn't feel that way. Sometimes we're looking very much at the black and white of finances. And I'm hoping today to encourage you to look at your abundance in a different way, to look at it as true north, to really understand that understanding the universe as a resource that has our back, as a place of abundance, is really true north for our unity teachings. It really is core and key to what we believe is true, which is that there is always somehow enough to do what is ours to do. So sometimes we get really caught in this financial stewardship piece about fundraising. And I just want to invite you to consider fundraising differently, to consider how much you want to use that word, and to consider being in the divine flow, to consider how we fuel the good work that we do. Because it's an interesting thing. If we talk about fundraising as fundraising, our community immediately begins to look at their wallet. How much do I have? How much do you want? How much should I give? What is it that you need from me? The thoughts that go through a person's head when we say fundraising are related to quantity. How much do we have to raise? Versus we are moving divine resource through this community. It's coming gracefully into the community, and it's getting gracefully moved out either into the well-being of the community or out beyond our community. So it changes things when we think about our resource flow that way. When we really think about who it is we help, how it is we help, and what it is that we can help that we're not helping yet. So even if you're talking about something as simple as putting blinds in, let's raise $500 to put new blinds in Fellowship Hall. Why? Why do you need new blinds? Who are they going to? What will they help? In our particular room, we have a very hard Fellowship Hall. So soft blinds help to keep people able to see each other a little bit easier, but more importantly, they help to soften the sound. And for the people in our community who have hearing issues, a softer sound means they can participate more. So if we just say we're raising money for blinds, yeah, people will probably pitch in for blinds. But if we have conversation about the softening of the sound, the dampening of the sound, the ease that it gives for some of our people to hear and participate in conversations, people are much more inclined to help. And that thinking all the way through why you need funding for something makes a difference in how comfortable your community is and how they hear the message, so that the message they hear isn't always, we need more money for something, but is actually a message that sounds like, we're always thinking about you and always doing the best that we can for you. We know that money is just a part of the sacred web. We know that it's just the energy being translated into something else. And the realities are, we have inflation right now, we have economic uncertainty, and that can get inside a minister's sense of confidence. That every time you open the whatever is your source of news and it talks about the economics of our country right now, it can make you worried. If you're relying on the economics of the country to provide for your community. And this really challenges us, doesn't it? It challenges us to step back into what we understand in the way of universal flow. We have a bigger resource working for us. But in order to take advantage of it, we have to be creative in our process. So if we believe that the only way that we can have what we need is if we do it through fundraising in our community, we might be missing out on opportunities. Our communities oftentimes are more likely to donate an item or things that we need, or donate towards an item or things that we need. And there are other sources of income, other events that we can do, other ways that we can bring funds forward if we take the time to think in a creative way. Right now, the global consciousness is shifting towards giving into places that support love, that support interconnection, that support kindness. We're all looking for that. And it doesn't even really matter, we all have people of both political persuasions, of many political persuasions, let's say that, because I don't think anybody really thinks one way. And I don't think everybody falls in line ever in one way. We have people with lots of different political persuasions who are all looking for a place they can go where they can find kindness. I just want to go to a soft and loving place, right? I just want to go to a place where people welcome me. We have that. That is who we are. And we can speak to that. We can speak to the fact that ours is a welcoming and warm community, that kindness exists here, and that we work together to make sure that this stays available. To speak to the importance of what you do each time you do it is valuable because your community, you know it, but your community doesn't necessarily think about who's coming through the door. They just think about their friends, their enjoyment, their activities, the things that they're learning, but they don't necessarily think about what is being provided to people who don't always have what they have. So it's valuable to speak right now about the experience people will have when they join you, about the kindness, about the gentleness, about the important information they get to take back out into their world, and to help them understand why their giving makes a big difference, most especially now in a way it hasn't necessarily in the past. Because right now what we're offering is more important. So that old paradigm of churches scraping by is one I invite you to look at. I invite you to look at whether you believe churches have to scrape by, or whether you believe that what is possible is just unveiling itself to us. Because we tend very much to put a lot of weight in history, and the world that we're living in right now is transforming. Most of us are having to do things differently in churches than we've done it before. We're thinking about different ways, who we want to be, how we want to speak, what we want to present, what is important for this time. The same is true about our old ideas about churches scraping by. We've been hearing for a long time that churches are scraping by, that a lot of churches are closing down and a lot is happening. And we have the opportunity to change that. We have the opportunity to change our narrative in our community to how important our spiritual communities are right now. And I'm just strongly encouraging you to talk about that, to talk about the importance of those doors opening every week, that you have a safe place to come to and a safe place to invite your friends to, that this is a time when these safe and open, expansive ways of thinking are ideally suited for what the world needs. These things that Unity has been doing for years and years and years are perfectly suited for right now. And we're teaching them, right? We're teaching those things, but are we actually talking to our communities about how important it is to have a Unity community available to do this, so that they get enrolled in the understanding that what we are doing is big, and it is. It's big and valuable in the world. So we're moving people from an idea of scarcity to an idea of sacred circulation, that things are moving in and through and out and in and through and out on a regular basis. Not just money, but an abundance of ideas, an abundance of creative events, an abundance of interconnecting opportunities. That when we work in the flow and the rhythm of the universe, that entire force is working with us. We're never doing this alone. But as ministers, sometimes it feels like we are. Sometimes it feels like all of this rests on our shoulders. I got to make sure there's enough money. I got to make sure everybody gets paid. I got to make sure that we can afford to have the lawn mowed or something new built or repaired. I got to make sure. That's my job. I got to make sure. Your job is to cultivate the openness and the expansive space in which that can happen, and to hold the faith, right? We don't have to worry about and the money. We have to worry about the faith, as Myrtle teaches. We have to hold the faith that what we need is going to come to us, and it will. Our giving, as we teach it, is to teach empowerment. So how are you teaching empowerment through giving when you offer the opportunity for people to give? Are you empowering them to hold this safe, sacred space for the community? Are you empowering them to give into something that makes a difference? Or are you simply empowering them to pay the bills? That conversation really matters. Transparency is a big thing in right now's time. If people don't know where you are, they don't know what you need. So transparency can be as easy as including your financial report with your minutes. How many of you share your minutes, your board minutes with your community? No? Really? Why? Why not? How do they know what your board is doing? They elected your board. How would it be if the people you elect every year never told you what they were doing? Really valuable to make your minutes available. If you go on the Unity in the Rockies website, you'll see that the minutes are posted for the last 3 years. They're very simple minutes. This discussion was held on this topic. We voted in this favor. Here's how it went. That sense of knowing what your board is doing gives trust and openness and a feeling that your opinion matters, that what you think about this matters, that you are, the desire is there for you to be educated about what your board is doing, and also allows you to include the treasurer's report. Where are you? So in some cases, we have the idea that we have to be really secretive about this stuff, that we don't want to put it on our web. Gosh, if we put it on our website, somebody will know how much money our church is processing through. So let me just take that away from you by saying that is public information. You are a public nonprofit. Somebody can walk in your door and ask for your minutes. They can ask to see your financial documents. You have about 48, as I remember, 48 hours to produce them. So you don't have to panic if they're not in your front office, because you have a little time. They can make an appointment with your treasurer or with your secretary, and your treasurer or your secretary can bring them forward. Anybody in your community can ask. So you're not saving yourself anything by not making it available, because somebody can come and ask at any time. What you're gaining when you make that information available, post it on your bulletin board, make it available to your community, is an awareness of what's happening and an understanding of what it takes to run your spiritual community, what is needed for your board to do its work. What are the subjects that come up? And if your board is working behind closed doors, I would just stop and consider how educated your community is to what is really going on. And how much, and I promise you this too. The other part of this is 3 people will care. Not everybody. There'll be 3 people who care, but those 3 people will make a lot of noise when they don't know. And when they do know, they can ask educated questions. And it calls your board to a different kind of responsibility and accountability. So when boards operate behind closed doors in a non-transparent way, sometimes they get gossipy, and sometimes they get snippy and angry, and they come to look at the body of the community as something less than them, rather than the peer group that elected them. So when your community has a different kind of access to your board, you build trust. And trust is what's needed for people to give in larger ways. They want to know that their money is used well, and they want to know how it's used and how decisions are made. So again, I'm a big proponent of transparency. Not everybody is. I am a big proponent of open board meetings. I like to have open board meetings and invite people to come in and observe the board in action. They get 15 minutes at the front of the meeting to comment on what's on the agenda. And after that, they're not allowed to speak. We go into a regular board meeting, but it's a different kind of board meeting when people are there. The conversation is different. We have executive session if we have something private that needs to be discussed, because sometimes you have that. Sometimes you have an employee situation or a problem, somebody that you have to make correction for or make a change around. And those things do need to be held in private session. So executive session can be held. But if any of you have interest in talking more about how to have an open board meeting, drop me a note, because I'm happy to talk to you about how to do that well, and about all the reasons that it helps to expand trust. And that openness, that feeling of, I know what my board is doing, I know where our money's being spent, because that's the board's real big job, right? I know how our finances are being managed. All of that helps keep that culture of openness and flow happening more easily. Financial strength.
Ariana,
Yes, ma'am.
just do you mind me to ask
No,
one
go
question?
ahead.
So we don't post our minutes on the board, but the board does regular, we call them community meetings, where they report the
Great idea.
finances and they tell them what they've been doing and any issues or whatever, and then people can ask questions. I mean, is that satisfactory, or do you think the minutes should still be posted?
If it were me, I would still post the minutes. And here's the thing about minutes. What happens with our secretary is they take their job very seriously and they take copious notes about everything that's happening. But minutes are for the IRS. Minutes are designed so that the IRS can come in and audit, and they can look at your minutes and say, did we do what we said we would do? That's really what they're for. They tell you whether you did what, and they tell your community the same thing. So if you simplify your minutes and you say, the board had a discussion about buying drapes.
Mm-hmm.
We voted, a motion was made by so-and-so, it was seconded by so-and-so. There was no further discussion. We voted 3 in favor, 4 against, 1 abstained, right? That's really all you need on any vote. That's really all the information you need. What we do here is I have the secretary keep a dated handwritten notebook for anything special we might want to remember. Why did we decide we were not buying drapes? Let's put that in our personal notes. That's not part of what we release to the community, because it's not an important thing. It's just the decisions that we make. So yes, it's really important to communicate, and doing regular town hall meetings is a great idea. For me personally, I would still at least post on the bulletin board the monthly decisions that were made in the board meetings so that people can see them.
I think part of the problem is I feel that the minutes are not being taken properly, so they have too much detail. They even mention names sometimes, and I have asked not to do that. Like, just say the discussion was about this. So it's not general enough to post, I don't feel. So
Right.
that would have to be fixed first.
Absolutely. And you do have to, wherever you start is where you start, right? The day you start it, you say, we're going to publicly post these. So this is the change we're going to make. This is the shift that we're going to make this happen. And you pay close attention to those minutes as they get posted for all those reasons. And I'll tell you, it changes the way the board thinks when that information is open, because they actually have to think about, if I say this, how is it going to affect the community? If I make this decision, they have accountability. They have true accountability. And that feels important to me. Financial strength allows spiritual boldness. It allows us to think in a bigger way. And this is another important thing to share with your community. How big do we want to think? Not how big do we want to be, because it's not about members. Being big isn't about members, it's about impact. How big do we want to have our influence be? What do we want to be able to help with? So, I'm thinking, but sometimes a little bit of money goes a long way. An example right now is this last week, we're in a summer backpack club with an organization here. We do 600 backpacks. We work with 23 other churches. This year, our cost to participate and help kids was $116 for glue sticks. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but finding that way to think big into how you can help is not about money. It's about 600 kids who all get backpacks, right? So there are ways for you to have great reach, and the abundance, the funding that you have can feel very abundant to your community when you know you're affecting 600 children. So where can you be part of bold, big actions with other people? How can you collaborate? How can you take your good work out beyond? Because you know what? Those people in that sanctuary next Sunday are not going to care a bit about that it was only $116. They're going to care that they affected 600 children. And when they know that what they're participating in is affecting 600 children, they feel good about where their money went. They feel good about the community that they're giving into, because we have to pay the rent, but it's not the most exciting thing. What is exciting is hope. Hope that we can change the world, that we can make the world a better place, that what we're doing makes a difference. Some of the people who've participated here regularly invite people to speak about why they came to Unity and what has come from it. It's a really powerful thing. If somebody tells you their story and how Unity changed their life, it's a really important story of abundance, because we bring an abundance of a lot. Abundance of faith, abundance of hope, abundance of love, abundance of compassion, abundance of understanding, abundance of impact. We are a very wealthy community, even as unity, as the greater unity. The impact that we have in the world is tremendously important. So very important. And if we on a national level talked more, how would you feel as a minister about giving into the national level if the national level was coming back and telling you how they were impacting the world? How would that change your wanting to give if they were showing you how some of that funding is helping kids? How would that affect you? And there are things that come out. It's not just, I'm not saying that we're not told, but I'm saying that it's an important thing to talk about in the way that feels like as Jackie would say, like love in action, right? We all want to be part of love in action. It's a really important thing. Poverty doesn't equal purity. Some of us were taught that. Poverty equals purity. Money is a distortion in our world. It's a bad thing. It's a black thing. Money doesn't equal purity, and poverty doesn't equal purity, and abundance does not equal greed. Abundance equals blessing that we can move forward. Really powerful. And stewardship, our stewardship defines our integrity. When people are dealing with their money and their legacy, how they might give to us in their estates and things like that, they want to know they're giving into integrity, that what you say you will do with money is what you did with it. And then they feel safe giving more. So it's energy in motion. We all know that. We all know that in our teaching. We all know that love is energy in motion, or that money is energy in motion. And we tend to wrap around it and try and control it. how can we control this money and make sure we have enough for this, enough for this, enough for this, enough for this, versus being in the conscious flow. And I'm seeing that, I'm confronting a bit of that here right now, even in the church that I'm serving right now, where we have a lot to do and we need to move or we need to stay. And whatever we do, if we stay, we have to have a certain amount of money to do what we're doing. So trying to keep money flowing rather than having everybody locked down around it is a constant conversation. It's a really constant conversation because you're managing the practicality versus the bigger vision. It's a big deal. Spiritual alignment has to be met with practical systems. Those of you who've been here for a few years know I am a strong proponent of a budget, because a budget is how you vision. It's how you look into the future. So there are lots of ways to diversify your income, how you rent your building out, who uses it. Memberships. Do you have any membership programs beyond just your being a member? Because being a member is like this. If you're a member of our spiritual center, we expect you to give regularly. Okay. So tell me all the good things I'm going to get out of membership, so I understand why I want to give regularly. Because what that sounds to me like is, if I want to belong, I have to give. That's an accurate and unexciting conversation. I want to partner that with all of the benefits of membership, and not just the benefits that are the things we do all the time, but what benefits do you give your members that are only member benefits? Do they get a minister dinner with you? Do they get a chance to get to know you in a way that other people don't? Could you do a monthly minister dinner for your members? I used to do one here when I was the full-time minister. I used to do one here for 12 people every month, potluck. I didn't have to do anything. My fellowship team set it up. We did it once a month on a Tuesday evening, and we invited 12 members. So they got a small dinner with me to ask questions of me and for me to get to know them. Tell me how you got here. Tell me how long you've been here. Tell me why you joined as a member. Tell me what it is that you would like to see happen here. But you can only come to that if you're a member. And it's a small enough group that we actually get to know each other. It's a really good way to get to know your members and what they would like to have happen. And it's easy, and you can get a coordinator to make the phone calls. But that dinner feels like something to your members. It feels like they're special, they're important. Not everybody gets to have that. You can do courses, you can do merchandise, you can do teachings around legacy giving, and of course you've got donations. You have a diversified way of having your money come in. When we look at those things, we tend to go, oh, I watched a church recently close a bookstore that was doing $5,000 a year, because they were looking at it by month and saying, it's not making enough money, we need to do something else. And I said, but it made $5,000 last year. What if you increased it by $1,000 this year? What could you do with $6,000? Why close it? Sometimes we're looking at the little slivers rather than the bigger picture. And considering that something is, maybe it's not doing as good as we want it to do every month, but on a larger scale, it's doing something important for us. So be sure you're looking at the big picture, not just the small picture. I know most of you are doing this, but if you're not, look at tech-savvy ways of giving. Can they jump into church on Sunday and hit a QR code? Can they grab a QR code when they're online? Can you throw that up on the screen for them? Do they have a digital code? Are you storytelling around your giving? Are you helping them understand the importance of what you do? Because again, the narrative tells them who they are. It tells them why they matter in the world. And you know what, friends? Everybody wants to matter in today's world. People feel really unimportant and unable. And inability to make change allows people to feel apathetic. I'm just not even going to read the news anymore. What can I do about it? I'm just not even going to pay attention anymore. I can't change anything. I just can't stand being that worked up about anything. So I'm just not going to do it. Well, that's okay. They get to choose that in their life, but wouldn't you like them to feel like showing up at your Unity Spiritual Center and giving into it of their time, their talent, and their treasure actually is a place they can make a difference? Right now, today, people need to feel like they can make a difference more than they have in a long time. Our people need that. And if we tell them that story and we show them how they can make a difference and how our Unity centers are important in the world, it will become the way that they have hope, that they don't become apathetic. Radical transparency builds trust, regular updates enforces that trust, celebrating successes, not just talking about when something doesn't go well. Hey guys, thank you so much for shopping in our bookstore. Do you know you guys took X number of dollars worth of product out into the market? Really good stuff that you used or you gifted or you gave away and really helped us this month. And you should see the things we have down there now. Go check out the bookstore. Great stuff. It makes a difference and helps us continue to serve the community at a time the community really needs to be served. Normalize talking about money in that way. That what we're talking about with money is what we're doing, what we're accomplishing with it. And that will help people to feel inspired to give more because they can make a difference. Spiritual practices, you know, these things, like I said, a lot of these things are just reminders, just a little nudge to remember the things that we've learned, that gratitude practices make a big difference. That's what celebrating success is. It's a gratitude practice. That blessing ceremonies, blessing the funds that come in, blessing them before they go out, asking your bookkeeper to write something lovely on the checks. It can be printed right on the checks, but every time it carries the intent and hope of the community out. And not everything. A lot of us are doing a lot of electronic stuff, and I understand that. But there still are places where we can write blessings, where we can put blessings in place. Your budget is a sacred budget. It's not a black and white limiting statement. It tells you as a minister, this is what your community trusts you with. We do a budget so that we can move into funding the activities of the church. We are authorized to spend what is approved in the budget. That is a massive statement of trust. It's a massive invitation for us to be good stewards. And it is a sacred gift that the community entrusts us with. And when we look at that piece of paper, when it comes up, we look at it that way, it changes how we feel. Because we are entrusted to do those day-to-day things that allow for the church to open up, that fund families, that allow people to take their kids on vacation, that keep our staff knowing that they can make an impact in the world. So it gets really easy to fall into the day-to-day, but looking beyond that at the gift that is given to us of trust and faith, that's a lot of people sending trust and faith to you, even if it's just your board. Even if you only look at your board, that's 6 or 7 or 8 people that you love and appreciate who value and trust you because of the amazing human that you are. How would it feel if we realized that every time we looked at it? If we actually took in the gift of that. So you are the model of leadership around money in your community. And how you talk about it really makes a difference. When you talk about all the ways you're abundant, when you talk about the impact that you're having, when you talk about the shift and change that you're making, your community feels seen and valued in how they give. And they feel like they can make a difference. And I'm saying it over and over because it's that important. What does abundance allow your community to do? That's what you want to ask yourself. What does abundance allow your community to do? How can you model a healthy relationship with money? By talking about it like it's a gift. What we have is a great gift. How we use it continues to gift, and we're in the flow. And what old money stories exist in your community? Where is that consciousness still a problem? We have a lot of money to do these things, but we never have quite enough school supplies for our youth programs. We have a lot of money to do things, but every summer we have to argue about who's going to mow the lawn and how the lawn's going to get taken care of. Figure out where there are old stories that you can begin to adjust. Because as you teach people to open to the abundance of enough, we have enough, they will find enough in their homes too. And that's a really big deal. In American culture, we don't define enough. So if we don't define enough, then we don't know where our excess is. And when we don't know where our excess is, we don't know how to give ahead of the enoughness. What is enough for your community so that you can give out in bigger ways? What does enough mean to you? Can you teach about enough? Can you invite your community to define enough so that they know at what point they can be grateful for what they have and actually see how much more they have? So some of you I've spent time with recently at conference. One of the interesting things coming back, I just spent 6.5 months on the road. One of the interesting things coming back is I packed my life out of my house because we were going to rent it. 55 crates, perfectly all the same crates. They stack beautifully in my garage. I packed 55 crates of stuff, left my furniture and my wall hangings. Everything else went out of my house. I was gone for 6.5 months, living out of a suitcase and a half. I came back and I unpacked eight crates. I unpacked them 2.5 months ago. I have not needed anything else out of my garage. Do you think I have enough? Right? My picture of enough has shifted so much. So much that Mark and I just said, we're going to have to go through and figure out who's getting what because we need to empty the garage. The garage is still full of crates and we can't use it for anything else. So what is enough? And that's a story you're welcome to share. Like, what is enough for you? If you took everything out that you have and you just put in your house what you need, how would enough change the way that you live? And how much more can we put into circulation in the world for other people who have greater needs than we do? When we look at enough, we recognize excess, and excess allows us to move into circulation. And circulation is really the key to the flow of abundance. Really important stuff. So you can reframe your budgets as vision funding plans. That's what your budget is. It's a vision funding plan. What are the visions attached to your budget this year? It's not just day-to-day management. It's moving into a new space. You can reframe giving as empowerment, as financial empowerment, as energy in motion, as the ability to see how you make a difference in the world. And you can open your abundance into actions that give us a sense of responsibility and accountability as leaders. And responsibility and accountability, when we meet those objectives, when we are responsible and accountable for what we do, we become very strong in it. We become very solid in it. We become in integrity. And that word integrity means to be in wholeness, that we are whole in what we do. It builds wholeness, builds a sense of strength and empowerment for us as leaders to vision bigger, to cultivate what is needed in our community in a new way, to really make a difference in the things that we do. We welcome resources. We welcome the resources of the universe to flow through us. When we understand circulation, we welcome the resources of the universe to flow through us. I have a question for you. How many of you have had that time in your spiritual community where you have somebody who's always bringing something and donating it, and you have to figure out what to do with it? You donated a couch, you donated a bookcase, you brought 17 packages of yellow paper, right? We've all had it. Just ask me before you bring it to me. Just ask me if I need it. I did this weekend. It happened this weekend. Somebody brought in a stack of books, a stack of DVDs from Spiritual Cinema. Here's a stack of DVDs for stuff that we can put in the lending library. My response, take it back home and wait until you talk to the librarian and find out if she wants it. It's so easy to stop the flow. It's so easy when abundance is flowing through you to say, we don't need it, rather than, hey, I can't take it into the building right now, but how about if I put a little note in the e-blast and see, does anybody need a couch? Anybody have kids who need a couch, right? Anybody looking for these? Hey, we happen to have 18 reams of yellow paper. Could anybody use that for something? Because circulation is circulation all the time. It's lots of things. When we open to true abundance, things circulate through us that are not for us, that really are for somebody else. We can do a lot of blocking of that energy because we don't want to be the transportation of or the storage house. But keeping in mind that it's all abundance being offered and looking for ways to open doors is valuable. And that doesn't mean that when somebody moves, they can empty their, their living room in your storage room. But keeping in mind that abundance is circulating and trying not to stop that energy really matters. We receive with gratitude, we steward with wisdom, we give with love, and we create a world that thrives by doing all of that. These things are really important. They're all things that we've been taught. Some of us came to these teachings, these unity teachings, with some background in this, and they were enhanced. And we try to bring these things forward every day, but it's easy to forget, especially when finances get tight or the economy starts to shift. So it's a reminder. This video will get uploaded onto the site. If you need a reminder again, come back to it, because we all need reminders. Like I said, this just happened to me this weekend. We all need the reminders of what it is that we're doing, and giving hope that you can make a difference in the world is one of the single most important gifts we have to offer our communities right now. So showing them what we're doing in the bigger world really, really matters in powerful and important ways. When people lose hope, they lose hope in everything. A little bit of hope that they can make a difference stretches a long way to help people find their inner fortitude to keep going forward. It really makes a big difference. I so appreciate the time I get to spend with all of you, the gift I have of your time in return. And I really want you to hear that. Time in a minister's life is the greatest gift that we have. It's the thing that there's never quite enough of. And I know that when you spend your time here with me, it is a true gift. So thank you. I receive that. I receive from you the importance of your time and value who you are so much in the world. And just really, really, I'm here for you. If there's something that you need, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to offer support any way I can. And thank you. Thank you for your time. I love you. I hope you have a beautiful day. Blessings on your good work. Bye.